Hi, I'm Duncan from Fishhead, and today we're looking at the Patriot Design's World Combat GTZ Super Diamond 78. So this is kind of in the middle of the Patriot Design's GT rod range, but in keeping with most Patriot Design's rods, which tend to be more overbuilt than underbuilt, this one is certainly at the more powerful end of the spectrum compared to what a lot of other makers tend to put out there. So it's a 7'8" rod, like the lighter diamond model. It's still got that same sort of taper where it has some stiffness all the way to the tip, but does flex right down into that second first guide fairly easily, but just keeps that little firmness all the way through. Then component-wise on this rod, we've got the rubber butt cap, the metal spacer, so good spacer for protecting around the butt of the rod when it's getting jammed against the edges of gimbal belts and things like that. The Fuji long nut reel seat, so just the single screw but the big longer nut. The nice decorative weave that Patriot Design puts on pretty much all of their rods. Then we have the top spec of guides, which is the Fuji RV stripper guides in titanium silicon, and titanium silicons all the way through to the tip there with the K guides, coming up through to the tip. Okay, I used an 18,000 size reel on this rod for the tests, and it was ideal, I think. Yeah, worked really nicely, good balance, very comfortable. You could use a 14,000 size reel as well if you're running P8 on it, and I've no doubt that it'll work nicely, but certainly the bigger 18K reel is a very nice balance on this rod. So let's have a look at how it cast. Okay, so this is the Super Diamond 78. So this one has a max cast weight of 220 grams, and we're at the other end throwing a 120 gram stick bait. And given that it's a popper rod, we're not getting a lot of flex when you're working the lure at this level, but definitely getting a nice chopping, darting action out of the lure. So where you just relax your casting, relax your sweeping and give a little twitch of the reel handle, you can really get that stick bait to jump and dive and swims really nicely. So although it is definitely a stiff rod, there's no getting around that. You can definitely adapt to work some stick baits. I wouldn't use it for the most delicate of smaller stick baits, but handle that 120 gram lure without too much dramas at all. All right, so we're working the Amagari Dzanga 230. It's got a moderate sized cup, but with a fairly decent sized lure. This rod works it with ease, so very comfortably in its range there. And I think any kind of popper that you use in that 140, 160, 170 gram range is just super comfortable on this rod. It's really easy just to wind up your slack, lift the rod tip up, use the stiffness and the short 7'8" length of the rod, just give it that nice little stab and the popper rips through the water. So very, very easy to do the short aggressive stabs, and no trouble doing the long draw as well, pulling the big bubble trails. Okay, so we've got the big FCL Labo SPP 220 lure. It's a big diving popper. It's got a large face, but then it splashes and dives under the surface. So pretty easy for it to rip this one. Like this rod, I think will handle pretty much any cup popper you could throw at it without too many dramas. The 220 grams plus hooks starts coming in around about a 240, 250 gram lure with this monster size, and definitely feels like it's on the limit for the rod's casting weight. Like it gets it out there fine, but you can certainly feel that we're on the limits now. So perhaps keeping it to lures closer to that 220, 230 gram max or total weight is probably ideal. Okay, the Super Diamond 78. Similar sort of taper to the other rods in the range. It's that first quarter to a third is where the tip action is, and then an obvious stiffening around the second guide up from the butt. So it does give a bit of flex there so that you can work some larger stick baits, but it's no hiding the fact that it carries stiffness all the way through, so it really has that good popper action. And we'll just that. That's the 12 kilos. Very comfortable lift on 12. Okay, so yeah, we saw with casting this rod that it really excels at working big poppers, which is what you expect from a Patriot Designs rod. But there is enough flex in that tip there to work some of the larger stick baits as well. But yes, it's definitely a bit of a change working with these shorter, stiffer rods to just feel how easy it is to work big poppers compared to the average 8', 8'2" rod that's out there. This one is squarely in the range, you know, like that big fish, big lure kind of range that Patriot is pretty much renowned for. Yeah, it's at 7'8", it's a bit easier to use on the body than you might expect when you look at the specs and go, oh, it's a big heavy popper rod. It certainly is, but the shorter length definitely makes it easier on the angler for casting and working those heavier lures. When it comes to fish fighting, it's a powerful rod, and it also has a fair bit of stiffness in this bottom section. So that works for you and against you. So the stiffness allows you to really dominate the fish. You can steer the fish around the boat more easily. When the fish is at a distance, you can really go to town trying to pump and wind it and lift it. But once the fish is straight down under the boat, you're using that longer lever to try and lift. So it does take a bit more muscle to work with when the fish is right at the boat. I think this rod will favour someone who has pretty decent fish fighting skills, so they know their techniques well. So yeah, keeping your back straight and your arms straight and let the rod do the work is definitely going to work for you there. And when you've got fish that have swum back under the boat, don't be afraid to point the rod down and point it at the fish while the fish does its thing circling back under the boat, and then bring it back up again. So if you're the kind of angler who, yeah, works all the rod angles and knows how to get the most out of a rod, you will get a lot out of this rod. If you prefer a rod that you can just relax, sit back and let the rod just flex around and do all the work for you, it's probably not the rod for you. But yeah, if you want something that will rip big poppers through the water with incredible power and yeah, quite a lot of ease for the popper side of things, and a fish that can dominate a rod that can dominate some big fish, this is a really good rod to have a look at. So yeah, check it out on the website. That's the World Combat Super Diamond 78 from Patriot Designs. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back again soon with some more videos.